Okay, so let's take a look at this example for the paragraph location question. All right, so we're still dealing with our passage we had before. So like I said, this is the paragraph location question right here. It always has language like this. Which paragraph contains the following information? Or sometimes it might say which section contains the following information. So it'll say which paragraph contains the following information, or it'll say which section contains the following information. All right? And like I said, we're not going to do the question first because it doesn't go in order, and so many students do it first, especially if it appears first, like here. Here it appears first as 1, 2, 3, 4. And a lot of times in the past, it would appear first. And students would waste so much time trying to do this question first. All right, but we're not going to do it first. What we would do is we would do the matching question first, and then we would do the diagram question. And then we go back and do the paragraph location question, numbers 1 through 4. Now, as I explained in the strategy, what you want to do is we want to first look at the keywords in the paragraph location question. Like number 1, when I say keywords, right, let me be clear about that. I'm talking about nouns and verbs, subject, object, verb, all right, or subject, verb, object. That's what we're looking for, right? The subject and the object, the nouns and the verbs. So for number 1, we're talking about, we have early timekeeping convention and also something about cold temperatures. Those are the keywords that I would circle or I would underline, okay? For number 2, we're talking about geography, and then other noun, calendar, and then next, farming communities. Those are the words that I would underline or circle: geography, calendar, farming community. Number 3, pendulum clock. And number 4, simultaneous efforts. That means simultaneous means doing things at the same time. Simultaneous efforts of societies and using uniform hours. All right. So those are the keywords that I'm going to circle, and those are the keywords that I'm going to try to keep in mind while I'm doing the other questions. Okay. So now we've circled the keywords. Right. You circle the keywords on your paper. If you have the book like I recommend, you circle the keywords on your paper. Now we're going to skip it. We're going to leave it. We're going to leave the paragraph location question, and we would go do the matching question. Right? If you remember how to do a matching question, we have to look at the word, find the word Babylonians, read the sentence where we see Babylonians, and then see if that matches any of these questions right here. Right? So we would go and look at Babylonians, which is right here. It says the Babylonians began to measure time, introducing calendars to coordinate communal activities, to plan the shipment of goods, and in particular to regulate planting and harvesting. So they introduced calendars to coordinate communal activities, plan the shipment of goods, and regulate planting and harvesting. So Babylonians are, let's see, calendar equal months in length, nothing about that. 2 equal halves, no. Cabinet shape, no. Calendar to organize public events and work schedules, yes. So for number 8, we will put A for Babylonians, because organize public events and work schedules. It said they coordinated communal activities, that's organizing public events, and they regulated planting and harvesting and planned the shipment of goods, that's work schedules, right? So for number 8, we would put A. Number, let's go look for Egyptians. Here are Egyptians right here. The Egyptians had formulated a municipal calendar having 12 months of 30 days. All right, 12 months of 30 days. Okay, and we can see that's a match for right here. Civil calendar in which the months were equal in length. So number 5 would be A. Right, now I'm still keeping in mind my keywords for here, for the paragraph location. I still have those in my mind. Geography, farming, calendar, cold temperatures, early timekeeping invention, and uniform hours, simultaneous efforts. I still have those in my mind. Okay. Next, I'm looking at the Greeks. Here are the Greeks right here. Temporal hours, which were first adopted by the Greeks. That doesn't match anything. Divide it into 2 equal halves. No. Develop a new cabinet shape for the timekeeper. No. So Greeks doesn't match anything. English. Here's England right here. England is a substitute for English. The early, in paragraph F, where it says England, the earliest recorded weight-driven mechanical clock was built in 1283 in Bedfordshire in England. The revolutionary aspect of this new timekeeper. Okay, so we see that one. We see that England is a match for developed a new cabinet shape for a type of timekeeper. So number 7 would be England. Okay, and also when I was in this paragraph, about England, right? When I was in this paragraph about England, okay, there's England right there. Yes, I see something about a pendulum clock. Right, I see something about a pendulum clock right here. Something about a pendulum clock. All right, when I was looking at that paragraph about England, that jumped out to me. So that means that number 3 is F. All right, the description of the origins of the pendulum clock. That's paragraph F. All right. Now I'm still doing my matching question. I'm down to the Germans and the French. All right, and I saw Germany as I was scanning through it. Oh, there it is. Paragraph E. Paragraph E. There's Germany. There's French. All right, so the sentence says, Italian hours begin at sunset, Babylonian hours at sunrise, astronomical hours at midday, and great clock hours used for some large public clocks in Germany at midnight. Eventually, these were superseded by small clock or French hours, which split the day into 2 12-hour periods, commencing at midnight. Also, what's helpful, this is really important if everyone wants to listen. What's also helpful for a paragraph location question is a lot of times you can look at the topic sentences, the first sentence of a paragraph, and that can give you a good idea if it matches also. Okay? Like here when we look at the topic sentence of paragraph E, the first sentence, it says the advent of the mechanical clock meant that although it could be adjusted to maintain temporal hours, it was naturally suited to keeping equal ones. Right? Equal means uniform, equal hours. So a lot of times when you're doing a paragraph location question, if you're a little confused, it can be helpful to look at your topic sentences of paragraphs, because your topic sentences in general tell you what a paragraph is about. They tell you what a paragraph is about. And so if you look at your topic sentences many times, you can get an idea if that paragraph has the information that you're looking for a paragraph location question. Okay? All right. So that's for that. All right. And then afterwards, we would go down and do the diagram question. And we know this information is in this paragraph that has 1670. But when we look at this paragraph that has 1670, right? When we look at this paragraph, there's nothing in here about geography or farming. So we know that we know the information. I'm looking at paragraph G now. There's nothing about farming or nothing about that stuff there in paragraph G. and then so we have number four. Four is E. Number four is paragraph E with the French and the paragraph about the equal hours. And number three is F with the description of the pendulum clock. But that paragraph with 1670 talks about nothing about timekeeping and cold temperatures. Now, some of you might ask, well, how come paragraph F, how come paragraph E is not the right answer for number one? Because number one talked about early timekeeping invention and also cold temperature. Right. This does talk about when you look at paragraph F, you do see the word timekeeper, right? But you don't just pick an answer because you see the same word. There's no mention in this paragraph about cold temperature, and so that's why paragraph F cannot be the right answer for this one. Okay, we need a paragraph that's talking about cold temperature. All right, E, F, G are out. Paragraph D. Here's the word inventor. Right, here's the word inventor. Again, we're looking at the topic sentence. In order to track temporal hours during the day, inventors created sundials, which indicate time by the length or direction of the sun. So the inventors created a sundial. There's our early invention. Now let's see if we see anything in this paragraph about cold temperature. Here we go. Freezing weather. Freezing weather of Northern Europe. So in this paragraph D, we have an invention of the sundial, right? Invention of the sundial, and we have a mention of cold weather, freezing weather. So that means number one is paragraph D. All right. So now let's go to the first page and see if I can find something about geography, a calendar, and farming. I'm looking for a paragraph that mentions geography, calendar, and farming. I'm here in paragraph A. Okay, here we are, here in paragraph B. Right here we see the word calendar. I'm in the third sentence. It says, hence the calendars, paragraph B, hence the calendars that were developed at the lower latitudes. Lower latitudes are talking about geography. And then the next sentence, in more northern climate, climb is short for climate. Again, we're talking about geography. And here we're talking about agriculture, which is farming. Okay, so paragraph B is the answer for number 2. All right, that's the answer for number 2. So our correct answers, again, number 1 was D, number 2 was paragraph B, number 3 was paragraph F, and number 4 is paragraph E. Okay? All right, so that's the proper method for doing a paragraph location question. All right? So what we're doing there is we're circling our keywords in the question, then leaving the paragraph location question and doing the other questions in the set, and then coming back to it. The reason why we go and do the other questions in the set is a lot of times they go in order or they're much easier to do. And while we're doing the other questions, we're able to look at a lot of the passage. And after we've looked at a lot of the passage by doing the other questions, then going back to a paragraph location question makes it much, much easier to do and handle. Much easier to do. Okay? All right, so thanks a lot. And now let's go ahead and look at another example. Talk to you soon. All right, now we're going to go ahead and get into one of the most difficult questions on the IELTS reading exam, and that is a question where you have to be able to choose 2 to 5 from a list. This is a type of multiple choice question. It's a type of multiple choice question, but instead of just choosing one answer, A, B, C, or D, you have to choose 2 answers, or they give you a list of maybe 6 or 7 choices, and they'll say which 3 of these were mentioned by the author, or which 5 of these were mentioned by the author. Now, this can be a very challenging question because the question does not go in order. It's extremely challenging for that reason. It does not go in order. So I really recommend that with this question, you do it last in the question set. And what I mean by that is if you have this question, a matching question, and a fill-the-blank question, do the fill-the-blank question first, then the matching question, then the choose 2 to 5 from a list question. The reason why is because if you do those other questions first, it'll give you a chance to look at the passage, look at the information in the paragraphs, and then it's going to make answering this question easier, okay? So this is what it looks like. So in this one here to the right, you can see that it's choosing 2 to 5 from a list, right? It's choosing 2 to 5 from a list. And here, actually, this one is choosing 2. We're only choosing 2. Right? It says, which 2 of the following are stated about zoo staff in the text? And then the next question says, which 2 of these beliefs about zoos does the writer mention in the text? So here, what they're doing is they're requiring you to pick 2, A, B, C, D, E, which 2 are mentioned. The other option, the other question type is where they give you one list, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. And they'll say, which 3 did the author say? Or which 5 did the author say? So in terms of the requirements, this question is asking students to pick which 2 to 5 statements from a list are stated. The wrong answers are stated incorrectly or given wrong information. There is a scanning requirement, right? It uses the same principles of keywords. However, it's much more difficult because it goes out of order. Again, do this question last in the question set. Do this question last in the question set. So, in terms of strategy, what you want to do is you want to identify the keywords first, right? Go through the list of A through K, like you see here on the left-hand side. You're going to go through the list and identify A through K. Gifted people, geniuses, exhausted, gifted people and gifts, genius, every generation, genius, destroyed by discouragement, inherited, hard to live with, right? Those are the key words that you need to really notice when doing this question. So the very first step is identify the keywords. Then the next step is start the other questions first. Go and do the fill-the-blank question, go and do the matching question, or go and do the sentence completion question. Go do those first. But keep in mind, you've already highlighted the keywords. You've already highlighted the keywords first. Because what you want to do is while you're doing the fill-the-blank question or while you're doing the summary question, keep your eyes open for those keywords that you just identified in A through K. Keep your eyes open for those keywords. While you're doing the other questions, if you come across those keywords, circle them or highlight them so that you're able to come back and confirm if it's one of those beliefs that's reported by the writer. If you're doing that, you're going to really be able to help yourself. You're going to really be able to help yourself move faster through this question, right? So after you do the other questions, then return to the question. If you did find any of the language from either A through K, go back and check those different sentences where you see that language and see if it's one of the 5 stated beliefs. Clearly, you can't just look for language like genius, right? Because in D it has the word genius, E has the word genius, F has the word genius, I has the word genius, K has the word genius. So some of these things he says about genius, some things he does not say about genius. You're looking for which of his beliefs about genius or gifted people does he say. Some of the answer choices that are wrong will be stated incorrectly, or they won't even be stated at all. Right now, if there's any, if for any of these question choices, answer choices, A through K, if you were not able to find the highlighted key words while doing the other questions, then you have to go back and scan through the passage and find that keyword language if you have not already found the 5 beliefs. It is a very, very challenging question, everybody. But with practice and with skill, you can do it. You can manage the question. So, you see the strategy on the right-hand side. Identify the keywords, do the in-order questions first, scan for the language match, apply the strategy. So for this one, what we're looking at is where you have to choose 2. Choose 2. So it says, which 2 problems are mentioned which affect farmers with small farms in developing countries? So in paragraph G, we found that says many essayists mention climate change and its consequences for small-scale agriculture. That's a match for D, right, in terms of climate change, changing weather patterns, climate change. And then we also, in paragraph I, we found some participants explain that market price volatility is often worsened by the presence of intermediary purchasers who, taking advantage of farmers' vulnerability, dictate prices. Right? This one is a match for E, having to sell their goods to intermediary buyers. Right? Volatility. That word is volatility. Some participants explain that market price volatility is often worsened by the presence of intermediary purchasers who, taking advantage of farmers' vulnerability, dictate prices. So here we see that's a match for E. Now, don't worry. In the upcoming lectures afterwards, I'm going to show you the whole scanning process, the whole process of doing the questions that go in order first and then coming back, how that whole process works. All right? Now in this one, they're asking us to choose 2 for numbers 12 and 13. And we can see number 12 here is C, right? It doesn't matter in terms of the order that you put the answer choices. You can put CD or DC, it does not matter, okay? Verneuil, and Marcel suggested that in order to apply what we already know, all stakeholders, including business, government, scientists, and civil society, must work together starting at the beginning of the value chain. That is a match for C. And number 13 we see is at the bottom of the next paragraph. Direct food distribution systems not only encourage small-scale agriculture, but also give consumers more control over the food they consume, she wrote. That is a match for choice D, right? Now in this one, what they're doing is you're able to pull all the statements about Newton health from paragraph A, because paragraph A was only about Newton health. So if you look here closely, you can see choice C, D, and F, right? Manchester United came into being in 1902 as a result of bankruptcy of the team formerly known as Newton Health. Newton Health began life as Newton Health LYR. So that is a match for C. It developed from a club with a similar name. And as the name suggests, the original team was comprised of railway workers, right? Despite turning professional in 1885 and becoming the founding member of the Football Alliance in 1889, Newton Health, nicknamed the Heathens, was constantly troubled by financial difficulties. So here we see choice D. It ceased to be amateur because it became professional in 1885. So you see how they're doing that? You see how they're using the language, right? Instead of saying they became professional in 1885, the answer choice says they ceased being amateur. They're testing if you can see the connection. They're testing if you can see the English connection, okay? And then in choice F, where it says the club experienced economic hitches, you have to be able to see that that is a match for was constantly troubled by financial difficulties. That's the English test, everybody. That's what they're testing you on. Are you able to recognize paraphrasing? Are you able to recognize paraphrasing? Because that's what they're doing here. They're paraphrasing, right? Same meaning, different words, they're paraphrasing. Okay, so coming up next, we're going to go ahead and get into the full passage application, scanning and answer application. I hope this has been very helpful for you. I look forward to working with you and helping you on your journey. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's do a pick two or three from a list question as an example. As I've told you with this question, it's a challenge to do this question. And I really suggest that this question appears last in your list of questions to do. Not last in your list. I'm saying you should do this question last if it appears in a set of your questions to do. So if you have a pick two or three, a matching and a fill-the-blank question, I would suggest you do the fill-the-blank question first, then do the matching question, and then do the pick two or three from a list question. The reason why is when you do a pick two or three from a list question last, and you do the other ones first, you'll have a chance to look at a lot of the passage, and then doing a pick two or three question is going to be much easier to be able to handle. All right. So the way I would do this question if I were doing it is, I would, here we have a pick two or three from a list question, and we also have a headings question, right? And so if I were doing this, I would do my headings question first, and do there's also a fill the blank question. Do the heading and fill the blank question first, and then come back to this question. However, even though I'm going to do this question last out of this set, I'm still going to, before I get started, I'm going to look and see what the questions are about. Like for 37 and 38, it says, which two of these advantages of online social networking are mentioned in the reading passage 3? And 39 through 40 says, which two of these disadvantages of online social networking are mentioned in reading passage 3? So what I mean is this. While you were doing the headings question and the fill the blank question, you will look out for any advantages you see about online social networking and circle them in your reading passage, even as you're doing the other question. And also look out for any language that talks about a disadvantage. All right, so you want to look out for language that may be considered as an advantage, and look out for language that may be considered as a disadvantage. And I would suggest you circle that language as you're going through and doing the other questions, and then you can come back and read that language. It's going to be much easier then to do this question. Much, much easier to do this type of question. All right. So, what I would like for this question here, I've already done the other questions in a previous example, but the correct answers for number 37 and 38 were number B and also number E. Letter B and letter E. The reason why it was letter B as an advantage is right here in this first paragraph. It talks about the result. It's now significantly easier for the school friend you haven't seen in years to pass you a tip that alters your behavior from recommendation. So this is talking about the ability to meet your future wife or husband. So it's talking about being easier to be able to be in contact with each other. All right. It also tells us that today our number of weak tie contacts has exploded via online social networking. You can maintain all those weak ties on your own, right? So you can maintain all your ties on your own. That's the reason why whatever our answer is an efficient way of keeping in touch with a lot of people. You can maintain all your ties on your own. And then also choice E is an answer also, because it says here in this paragraph, so what paragraph is this? Paragraph E. Everyone, paragraph E. It talks about asking your close friends for help or advice is nothing new, but we are seeing a lowering of barriers among acquaintances. People are sharing their personal feelings and experiences in a wider circle than they may have once done before. The ability to broadcast to our social group means we never feel alone. So we take all that information as an advantage, and that's what means it can be reassuring to be part of a online social network. Okay? As I was going through the passage, I saw nothing that said it could be very easy to establish new friends online. The thing is that makes this hard for you is that for 37 and 38, A, B, C, D, and E are all advantages. They're all advantages. But the key thing is what advantages are mentioned in the reading passage. That's what makes it really tricky. That's what makes it really difficult, is all of those are advantages. So you can't just guess. You can't just look at it and guess it. Okay? You have to look and see which of these five, which are all advantages, are mentioned in the past. Which of these two of the five are mentioned in the passage. Okay? So that's what makes it really a challenge when it comes to a pick two or three from a list question. Really a challenge. But like I said, I'll explain to you the proper strategy for doing this question. And like I told you, do the other questions first in terms of within the set. However, make sure you look at what each of the pick two or three questions is about. Like 37, 38 is about advantages. 39, 40 is about disadvantages. And then you want to keep in mind for that kind of language as you're going through and doing the other types of questions. That's the best advice I can offer you for doing that pick two or three from a list question. It's one of the most difficult, challenging questions to be able to do, but that's the best way that I recommend you to be able to do it. In terms of 39 and 40, in terms of disadvantaged language, it says we may have to give up some ability to show very limited glimpses of ourselves to others. We have to learn how to live a more transparent life. All right, so it's talking about giving up your privacy here. It's talking about giving up your privacy. All right, and so here it also talks about what people hear in the social networks could well be inaccurate. All right, so that's three. Those are two negative things that I had seen when I was going through it right here. You see where the hand is. What they hear can be inaccurate, but the change is happening nonetheless. That's negative. And down here in paragraph F, where it talked about people having, paragraph E, paragraph F, where people are talking about learning how to live a more transparent life and giving up the ability to show very limited glimpses of ourselves. And so that's why for number 39 and number 40, the correct answer choices were letters A and E. Letter A and letter E are the correct answer choices. Okay, so that's an example of how we do that really challenging pick two or three from a list question. It's a real challenge. All right, so I'll look forward to talking to you again really, really soon. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.